Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Trevor Stockwell, and today I'm joined by my guest, Nechami. We're going to be talking about the importance of aligning our hearts and our minds when it comes to our marketing. Why? Well, Nechami's an expert in helping business owners successfully establish both image and authenticity in their marketing. Such a key thing these days. She's the founder and CEO of CarmelaCosmetics.com, and she's a business and image consultant and a brand strategy advisor. So lots that we can learn from her. She's here to help us increase our visibility. So welcome, Nechami Tenenbaum.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Trevor.
It's great to have this opportunity to chat with you. And there's something I can learn about marketing. There's always something I can learn. So, I'm interested myself, and I'm sure everybody tuning in is also eager to learn and listen to what you've got to say. So maybe to kick us off, share a little bit about your journey, because you've been involved in several different things. You do quite a few things now. What are sort of some of the steps that have brought you to where you are today?
Sure. Yes. Okay. So after grad school, I got my MBA in marketing. And after that, I launched my cosmetics brand called Carmela Cosmetics, as you mentioned. It's Carmela with a K, by the way. And my goal was to launch a high-performance natural cosmetics line because I saw that there was really a need in the market for more natural cosmetics that were luxury and lasted well and felt good and all of those fun stuff. So to make a long story short, after I got my MBA in marketing, I launched. I learned a lot throughout my journey over the past, it's been almost 4 years now, actually, that I've had my own brand that's been around. And during that time, I realized that I had a lot to learn, even though I had a master's in business and marketing. And I learned so much more on the job, than in school. Yeah. And I was always one of those people that my friends and fellow business owners would call for advice, and also advice in regards to image, not only business. And last year, actually during COVID, we were all shifted gears a little bit during COVID. I started doing it as a thing. So I'm officially an image and business consultant, business strategist. So that's pretty much to make a long story short of how I got to where I am today.
Yeah. No, it's interesting though, because you wear several hats. So you've started your own business from the cosmetic side of things, but then also you're sharing your knowledge, your expertise and things you've learned with other business owners and helping them with, which I think is really key. The whole kind of authentic marketing, isn't it? It's like there's a skill to showing who we are, linked to what we offer, isn't there, to connect with the right people. So definitely want to dig into that in detail in a moment, because I think it's really important. But what was, maybe just to encourage us all, because we're all on a journey, we all have challenges as well. A couple of challenges or things in the learning process that sort of when you were first starting, maybe the Carmela Cosmetics, any specific challenges you've overcome?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, okay, so it actually has what to do with what we're going to be talking about. I think for me, it was really hard to, we have all these voices coming at us, right? When we start businesses, people who know things and people who don't necessarily know. And even those professionals, those experts, so to speak, who actually know what they're talking about, they don't necessarily know what's good for you, right? And what's going to work for you. So a lot of new business owners, whether they have a business background or not, struggle with all these messages coming to them, and all these emails of people telling them what to do, what not to do. Hire me for this. You're gonna become so profitable, whatever. And I think for me it was hard to kind of say listen to my own intuition, but to figure out what my intuition was telling me and to be truly authentic, and then to go for it and take those paths instead of doing what other people told me to do. And at first, I was doing what other people told me to do because I thought that was the right thing to do. I was like, these are the professionals. Why would I not listen to them? And then I lost a lot of money. I did. That was a huge challenge. And I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get back on my feet? How am I going to expand my business and my brand, right? And that's when, and when I started being more authentic, I know you asked the question, so I'll just summarize it. But when I started being more authentic and listening to my gut and doing what I call head and heart aligned marketing, that's when I started seeing success, thank God. And that's what I help my clients do. And they see success and they they see more, they gain more visibility and revenue, profits, because they're aligned with who they are.
Yeah, it's a really key point, because like there isn't just one way to market everything, is there? And you're right. We hear conflicting voices of this is the best way and this is the best way, because it's worked for certain people. And I know you sort of use the Enneagram, which we'll dig into a little bit as well, because I'm interested in that. But just it's finding the personality of the individual, isn't it? And then how you market from that. It's such a key thing, rather than just sort of, I have to do it this way because, very famous person made buckets of money
right.
in that way. So I have to try and fit that mold. I like the way you put it with it's the heart and the mind together. Maybe for people that are listening, I think that sounds really good, but where would I start? What would be maybe the first step in thinking through, I know what isn't working, or I know that I'm doing okay, but I'm not really as visible and tapping into what I need to. How do you help people to start with on that journey of change, shall we say?
For sure. So the first thing that I like to do with my clients, and I would recommend that your listeners do this as well, is to kind of tap in and dial in to who they are and their strengths and superpowers, and implement those into their business. And the way that I would suggest that they try doing it is, and it's actually a really fun exercise, to ask maybe 7 to 10 friends what they see as your superpowers, to list 3 things. And then you're going to see that there's an overlap. You're going to see that there's the same few things. Maybe they'll say, you're so compassionate, or you're so great at making people feel comfortable, or you're so, I don't know, whatever it is, right? You take those 3 things, and if obviously it has to resonate with you, right? Because you don't want to, decide that you're something that, because based on what other people say, but usually you'll find that they'll resonate with you, the top 3 things, and try to implement those into your business. What in your marketing, in the way that you approach leads, the way that you try to get, new clients or customers. And I have found that to be so beneficial for myself and others.
Yeah.
That'll be the first step.
Yeah. No, that's good, because just as you're saying that, I'm thinking, like, we all have blind spots, don't we? So most people, unless they're on the side of being overconfident, we undervalue elements to our character, to our strengths, to who we are and what we can offer sometimes. And I think it's key that we get feedback from people close to us, like you say, just to point out, actually, this is what I see in you. This is what I feel is a way that you give, rather than take from somebody or from people. So yeah, that's really good. I like that. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't done that. Thank you. That's good. I will found some people out. Yes.
Sure.
I do in different areas, but marketing and stuff have not linked the 2 together. So yeah, thank you. Carry on. You're right. Go on.
Sure. And if you want, I'm happy to give you a personal example of how I use that.
Yes, please.
To make like a more visual, to give a visual. Yeah. So I found that when I did this exercise, a lot of my friends said to me, you're really great at, embracing all different types of people, and you just love everyone. Like, it doesn't matter, where they come from, their ethnicity, their religion, whatever. You make people feel loved and cared about, right? So I realized that that's a huge thing for my brand. And this is way in the beginning. And that's really part of my branding, which is all about uniting women through the power of color. That's my tagline. So our tagline, I should say, but my brand tagline. And it's about uniting all different types of women and showing how we're all more similar than we are different, because that's who I am as a person. Yeah. So I just literally implemented that into my branding. And that is literally my branding. So that's just a great example to show how I utilize that, exercise.
Yeah. So once we've discovered that, we're actually further along the journey of being ready to make changes than maybe we first thought before we started listening to you. So that's encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's really about stepping into your authenticity, because as we mentioned earlier, a lot of people really try to do what the experts have done, and they've made loads of money, as you said, or someone that they've heard of, or even something that someone told them to do. Yeah. Instead of listening to their mind and body, really, which is the head and heart aligned marketing. Yeah. But when we try to be like other people, we're always going to be 10 steps behind, right? Because you have to catch up. Yeah. But when you are yourself, when you step into your authenticity, you end up being the best you, and no one, and you become non-imitatable. No one could be you because they're going to be 10 steps behind. You know what I mean? And they won't even be full you because no one actually knows like everything that goes into whatever you're putting out there.
Yeah. And it's like tapping into our uniqueness then, it puts us in a good position because we'll reach certain people that some other people won't reach. There's a unique message that we have that might be the same words, but we'll just put it in a different way, or it will come across differently the more in tune we are with who we are. I think that's really that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. And I think that's key to, in lots of ways, it takes the effort, or the struggle is probably a better word, because it takes effort. It does take effort, but
right.
The struggle of implementing and in ourselves and what we offer. That's really good. So how does that link with, so the heart and the mind? Say, for example, okay, I've realised that I've spoken to a few friends, they all say I'm compassionate. Let's use that as an example. From a mental perspective, is it more that I then need to embrace that and, okay, so let's think through, what does that actually mean? How could I put that in a message that promotes whatever it is I'm promoting?
Okay, so what I would try to do is I give you an example of one character trait, but I would use the top three, and combine them. Because it's kind of going to be a little harder to come up with a whole branding based on being compassionate.
Yeah.
Depending. See, the problem is that it's not the problem. I shouldn't say that, but the challenge here would be I would have to know more information, like what you're selling, what you're trying to do, and then maybe I could put into compassion. I'm sure I could. But you have to have like the whole picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're selling, I'm trying to think, let's say it's like a healthcare item, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you're putting that compassion and coming with that view and with that mindset of compassion, it changes the way your customers or potential customers see you. Instead of just trying to make money, they see you as this compassionate business owner or person even. Forget about business owner. They see you as this person who's full of compassion and wants to help them. So, I mean, that's what I'm coming up with a very broad and no more information, but that kind of thing. Or as a coach, let's say, right? So as a coach, when you even pitching yourself to people, you're coming with that mindset of, I have compassion and I care about you and I want what's best for you. People feel it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to just really put that into our heads, like incorporate that into our constantly into our mindset, and to always be thinking about that, because to remind ourselves, and then it just becomes natural. Like that's who you are. You know what I mean? But sometimes at the beginning, actually, this is a very good point. Don't think that just because something is not 100% natural at first, that it's not you. Because sometimes we let society's messages, we internalize them, and we start thinking of ourselves in certain ways, or we just get used to acting in certain ways.
Yeah.
Unlike who we are,
Yeah.
So if that makes sense. If I'm making sense, I'm just like.
No, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of it. One of the things I find through the coaching side of things is people. A lot of the time, we can feel we need permission to be who we really are. It's almost like nobody's just sort of said you can be who you are. Like you say, we fit into a mold or society, culture, environment, whatever. Lots of different shapers, but have we really stopped and appreciated who we are? Have we really discovered who we are? And then are we happy to present who we are? It takes courage to some extent. I think probably more so for different people, depending on what they've been through and the struggles and challenges they might have had. Not everyone is in a healthy environment all the time that builds. It'd be great if we were. But sometimes we struggle with different things. The mindset side of it, like you touched on, is really key from that perspective, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. And you brought up a really good point, because I think this is what you were saying, that growing up, we get messages from people around us and from our family unit and maybe the school and friends or whatever, and it might not be the healthiest. So you have to kind of learn how to differentiate between the stories that you told yourself that don't belong to you versus your actual story, like who you are.
Yeah. And it's that balance of not staying too comfortable, because that's safe. You need to explore and grow. But the other side of it is, the more authentic we are, the more natural is probably a better word rather than comfortable. The more natural we will communicate. And even though not everybody's going to agree necessarily with that message, not everyone's going to accept it and think, at last, you're who we've been waiting for. There is a group of people where you can uniquely help. That's the way I would view it from a business perspective. There's a reason why we're all on the planet, to give somehow to help other people. If we're just living for ourselves, it's a very small world, and I don't think we've discovered really why we're here. I think it's definitely about sharing with other people. So it's really good. How lots of different ways I could go and ask you questions about this, but just how would you help people, maybe from a identifying, right, I think these are some of the key elements, this is how I want to package it across. Are there any specific mistakes that you've seen people make that then gets them to sort of withdraw? Are there sort of maybe some hurdles that you can help us overcome or jump rather than actually go through them when it comes to how do we start communicating? If it's been different from before, how do we then start to communicate? You touched on some of it already, but any other tips and advice?
Yes, I'm actually glad you asked me that, because I realized that I also forgot to mention a very important point, which is about knowing your why. That's really number one.
Yeah.
And that's a mistake that I've seen business owners make. They're like, what do you mean? Like why do I have to know my why? Like in the first coaching call, we covered that, right? And I'm like, trust me, you need to you have to spell it out. Why are you doing what you do? What are you hoping to give to society by your choice of work and career, right? How about your clients? How about yourself, your family? What changes? Like, what is your why, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to know, because A, you use it for your marketing, and B, you need to have something to keep you going, because life gets hard, and especially when you're running a business, there are challenges that come up, and you want to be able to be so strong in your why that you're able to say to yourself, okay, I could get through this, because the results that I'm looking for, and I'm not talking about just the results like money, I'm talking about the results that the way it affects you and your family and your friends and society. Those are so important to me that I'm gonna continue to persevere and overcome these challenges. So knowing your why is definitely a mistake that not knowing your why, sorry, is a mistake that I've seen. And honestly, it's really simple to fix. Just sometimes people need a little bit of coaching to get it out. You talk to them, get to know them a little more, figure out their superpowers, right? As you like to say, and stuff like that. And then you could help them, coach them along until they figure it out. But that's an important one. Another one is the head and heart aligned marketing, which is what you asked me before. People don't always do this, right? So the idea of head and heart aligned marketing is that that it's a great idea, that it makes sense, that it's a great strategy, and also like in your head, right? And then your heart, you feel excited about it, you feel relaxed about the idea, right? Because relaxed and excited they're kind of like oxymorons, but like in your gut, you feel good about it, and that's so important. Because I've seen business owners, and it really all goes together with authenticity and, head and heart alignment, because if something is inauthentic to you and you feel uncomfortable with it, even if it makes sense in your head, in your heart, you might feel a sense of dread. You might feel a sense of anxiety or whatever. I would highly rethink that strategy. I would really, because it's very hard to keep going when you feel that, when there's a lack of alignment there.
Yeah. I guess it would drain your energy as much as anything if you're trying to force something to stay and it's not a natural. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I would say, and the opposite, which is, so that's a mistake not to. And of course, the best thing to do is to work with head and heart aligned marketing. Make sure that it makes sense to you in your mind and it also feels good. And also don't forget that sometimes we get nervous about going out of our comfort zone. So just know the difference between being a little bit nervous and because it's something new versus this makes me feel so uncomfortable that I can't do this. Like I have a client who she wants to become more of like a content, I guess you would say, like creator, but she has a business and she wants to get more out there on Instagram. And she said to me, she's like, I feel so uncomfortable with showing my kids. I don't want to show my family. I don't want to be like a blogger type. And I was like, don't do that then. Just don't do that part. Well, we can make it personal without you, selling your soul to Instagram. You know what I'm saying? So, And we thought of a strategy that she would be able to be a content creator and be private. And that's just a very simple example, but it just, people think that they have to do something because it makes sense. And that's what people are saying is the hottest strategy or whatever. Yeah. But it really has to align with you. It has to make sense in your heart.
Yeah. That's really good. It kind of brings us on nicely, really. I was hoping to dig a little bit into the branding strategy side of things. So there's more than one platform that we can get our message out. So I guess part of the discovery is, where are our target market, the people, where do they connect with us? Where do we connect with them? Where's the best place for us to focus our visibility and increase it? So that's a big topic in itself. Let's just maybe scratch the top of it. To link in with what you've said as well about we've now discovered a bit more of who we are, how we think we want to communicate better. What would then be something to do with the strategy side of it? Is it more, we hear lots of different things, consistency, being consistent in a certain way, in a visual way, I don't know. I'm curious to know from your perspective, being the expert on that side of it, how could you help us with our branding strategies?
Okay, so I would first delve even deeper into your superpowers. So I would ask you what lights you up, what gets you excited to wake up in the morning, what's your unique story, that kind of thing, and all questions like that, your skills that maybe your friends and family might consider something like you of an expert in, that kind of thing, and that you can incorporate that into your branding. But in regards to actually getting the word out and gaining more visibility, I definitely would start with so I don't do the target market. What I do is I do the customer avatar. I love working with that because I find that you're able to delve really deep into this one persona of, this one type of person. You give her a name, you literally visualize, or him, whatever it is, right? Visualize this person, and you know everything about them, that you could answer questions that, like seemingly silly questions, like what do they eat for breakfast? You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. So it's really important to, number one, figure out your customer avatar. So you paint a picture of this person, you decide if they're male or female, give them a name, figure out what type of car they drive, what keeps them up at night, what are their anxieties, what are they worried about, what do they want to change in their life, what do they, everything. You literally delve deep into their life and their mind, really. And you could even interview someone. You could choose someone who would be a great client or customer and ask them all these questions about, like, you could ask them personal questions. I mean, they'll be ready, prepare them, but and then how to talk to the person, right? Like what they appreciate, what they want. And if that's your customer avatar, then you have it set, right? Because then you could figure out from there, where do they hang out, right? And wherever they hang out, social media is great. It's true, but it's not everything. And people forget that. Yeah. First of all, we have no control. Like right now, for example, I don't know when you're going to air this, but today, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram was down. I don't know if you knew. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah. So they were down. So like, what are you going to do if, God forbid, like Instagram loses, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you don't want to depend on social media for your marketing. You could obviously use it for your marketing, no question about it. Like I use Instagram heavily for my business, but you want to make sure to have an email list. That's number one. No matter where your customer avatar is, have that email list. Yeah. You own it; it's yours. Yeah. And then you figure out where they're hanging out. I had a client who was so into Instagram. And she's like, why am I not getting sales? I don't get this. Like, why? Like, what's happening? And she came to me at that point. And I said to her, I was like, okay, let's go back. Who's your client? Who's your ideal client? We figured it out. Then we realized her ideal client was a certain sect of a very religious community that they're not on Instagram. Yeah. And I was like, let's try postcards, like old-fashioned postcards. Yeah. And let me tell you, she did really well from that postcard sale.
Yeah. Again. Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I was just going to say, it ties back to what you said about mindset, isn't it? It's like, are we open to maybe do what other people aren't doing? It's like, or is it because I like Instagram, so I'm familiar with that, I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to keep using it. But then you look at the numbers and think, it's not actually doing what I need it to do. So, that's really good. Exactly. Do you have like review points that you set to then sort of look at some of the analytics. Not everyone's into numbers, and it's not their strengths, but is there a general, okay, see how it goes for 3 months, see how it goes for 6 months, and then just review where you are? Or how do you work the time frame side of things?
So I think
that's
the
a big
number
question. So maybe just the short version. Sorry, I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah, sure. So it really depends, honestly. It really depends on what strategy it is that I've implemented. But I'll tell you that 90 days is what they say. I believe it's 90 days, that you can't assume that a strategy is not working until you give it 90 days.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if everyone has, sometimes I'll do it depending on, let's say I've tried a strategy and I know that I've tried it long enough based on volume, not time, let's say, right? And it's not working, then I'll be like, okay, on to the next one. Some it depends on sales, on leads. Like if no one's signing up or something, it's a little bit like, okay,
yeah,
I should really revamp this. And if everyone's signing up, I'm like, okay, great, we're gonna do this next time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot of wisdom in that. Thank you for everything that you shared so far. We've got just a couple more minutes left of our discussion today. Just wanted to mention also, you host a podcast yourself, don't you?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what's the aim of the podcast.
Sure. So it's called We Are Women, and really it's just about how we're all connected as women, and it's a platform for women to share their stories, challenges they've overcome, their victories, as a place to inspire other women to see that other people have gone through these things, and they'll share advice and empower other women. Really, that's the purpose of this podcast.
Sounds good. Sounds really inspirational.
Thank you.
Let me just touch on the element I mentioned earlier as well. You use the Enneagram, don't you, to help your clients with some of the discovery process. For people that haven't heard what that is, we won't go into it in too much detail here, but what would you say is one of the or two of the benefits? Why is it something that you use?
I love it because I'm sorry.
No, go on. Yeah.
Okay. There was a delay. I love it because it shows you your superpowers, and it also shows you your blind spots. And as hard as it is sometimes to take a look in the mirror and to see your blind spots, when you know what they are, you can really work with them. Sometimes it's like, I have a lack of skill in this area. Let me get a coach, or let me take a course, let me read a book, and I'll improve,
Yeah.
And when it comes to business, you really have to be self-aware. It's really an awareness. What's the word for it? It's a project in self-awareness, really, building a business, because everything is a reflection of who you are.
Absolutely.
So when when you're aware of all of your healthy personality traits and your unhealthy and your intermediate, and you work with them, you can really make your business be the best that it can be. So that's a short version.
No, it's really good. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of personal development, understanding human psychology and things like that. And totally understand where you're coming from with that. Maybe just as we wrap up for now, what would be, so there's the website for the cosmetics. Is that the best place for people to head? There'll be a link below wherever you're listening to this, but is that the best way for people to touch base with you? And you're very popular on Instagram, aren't you? So there's that element as well. What would be the best thing for people if they think, now is really good, I need a discussion, I need to find out a bit more, or just literally follow what you're doing? What would be the best first step for them?
Thank you. So they could definitely reach me through Instagram. Like, I run the account. If it's regarding image or business marketing, then they can email me as well at nechami@nechami.com. I could send that to you, so you could Okay. I know it's hard to spell like my name, but
isn't there? Yeah.
But also, honestly, like, I don't mind if sometimes I'll have potential clients, message me on Instagram through Carmela and ask to meet with me, and I don't mind. And if they want to deal with email, they're welcome to email me or at Nechami at carmelacosmetics.com. Whatever works.
Okay. Good. Lots of different ways they can touch base.
Yes, exactly.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. Thank you for what you've shared. Anything that you wanted to mention that I haven't asked you already? I mean, there's more than enough for us to put some stuff into action after we hear this anyway. But anything that you wanted to share which maybe I've missed?
Actually, now that you ask, I'm just thinking, it's really nice when you're able to implement some purpose-driven mission into your business that would just be another marketing idea. We do that. We donate 10% of our profits to different charities supporting women. But I think that the truth is that when customers see, or potential customers see, that you give back in some sort of way, and you're a purpose-driven business, that can really benefit you long term. It will make people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. Right? We all do. We all want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves and give to others and change the world. So when people see that you're doing that, they want to be a part of it, and they're more likely to purchase from you. So that's just a tip that I would share, and however you want to do it. However, it doesn't have to be money. It could be time. It could be whatever. But you'll end up attracting higher quality customers also. So I could comment on that, but you've said it all. Really, that's you've made the point exactly. Win-win, isn't it? It's always about creating the win-win. Otherwise, somebody loses, and that's not how we want to do things. Thank you for everything that you've shared today. I've learned some things as well. I like what you said about everybody has a superpower. I think generally we need to remind ourselves more that we have a or several superpowers. And as you say, chat to people close to you, discover what it is, let them remind you if you're not sure. If you know what it is, then utilize it in the right way. It's not about making you amazing. It's about helping you help other people, really, I think. So, Thank you for that. You've definitely given us some food for thought and some action as well. Hopefully listeners will take after our discussion today. So, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. I know there's lots more we could have spoken about, but you've definitely helped us today. So thank you for that. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. Definitely welcome. And for everybody listening, make sure that you take action. Believe in yourself. Believe in who you are, the fact that you have a purpose. You're in business for a reason. If you've forgotten what your why is, or maybe you just need to think about it a little bit more and then package that into how you make your marketing approach and your strategy, then do that. But definitely think back on what we've been sharing today. Make a plan, take some action, and then you can move forward from wherever you are towards where you want to get to. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.